dancers and choreographers do is very much a part of what physicists, scientists, writers, poets also do. We are dealing with gravity, creating a syntax, with making meaning out of motion. Dance can be regarded as a discipline as rigorous as music or the visual arts or literature, or even the sciences.
Moss seems more like a scientist than a poet. That was the criticism. And I'm thinking, he got it. That's exactly right. It is, in fact, and for years, my poems are really essays. There are the equations of limited fork, the formula of limited fork.
I used to spend time, a couple of afternoons a week with a MacArthur-winning poet, Alice Fulton. And we would spend the afternoon talking about the relation between creativity in science and creativity in poetry. And the interesting thing was that the more we talked about it, the more we found that we went through the very same processes. I think that literature and the humanities know more about metaphor, typically. It's something that scientists could know more about.
The concept of metaphor in atmospheric science is probably best expressed in terms of models, because we take the best physics that we know, the best chemistry we know, and express them through computer programming into a simulation of what we think the atmosphere is likely to do. It's impossible for us to have a physical model of the atmosphere and go out and add more CO2 and see what happens.
And I see that comparable to an artist or choreographer who goes into a studio with not too much preconceived idea of what's going to unfold, but just kind of following a whim or tracing some movement impulse that ends up being a 40-minute dance. There is the division that it's interesting between, how would you say it, there's pure research.
It often turns out to be cross-disciplinary. What he's trying to do is build an overarching structure.
And then what's the other kind of research? Applied research?
You have the analytics scientists, and they will take a look at large data, try to discover correlations and so on. And they'll work from that database and try to build on the database.
We act as if that there really are things that we like to call facts. Limited fork knows no such thing. Because of those holes, those wonderful spaces between the time, it is impossible for the fork ever to get everything. I want to know all kinds of things. I can't know them. That's why I play with the fork. The fork tells me I can't know, so I don't have to worry about not getting the answer. Somewhere, we've got to know. You play with this thing. You investigate. You use it because we're curious, because we want to know such things as what happened in that moment when there was nothing. We can't help it. It is irresistible to want to know.
This combination of curiosity and you know, that's the essence of doing almost anything, is to retain the curiosity that you have as a kid. And then using these techniques like metaphor and so on to explore an area in a very open way.
Some scientists are able to prioritize the imagination and creative thinking, and others have very little patience with it, where it's all about applied knowledge and about the discipline of experimentation.
Oh my gosh. I have no artistic talent whatsoever, but my only talent is to be able to go out and attract students from art and design, film and video, who have a gift for building either animations or imagery that we can use to better articulate our science.
And that has to do a little bit with the limited fork theory, which is all about the study of interactions. I realized that I was getting at a collaborative nature of all things.
In order for us to grapple with the issues involved in climate change, we're going to have to involve far more than our department. I must work with chemists, God forbid I must work with chemists, public policy, business, economics, so it's very interdisciplinary.
I call it the I word, and I've watched the I word grow on this campus from its infancy. What does interdisciplinarity mean? Why is it different from multidisciplinary? And Are university professors even able to imagine such a thing?
As I say, disciplines have their place, but they also tend to become hardened. The problem, as I see it, is that once that happens, then it's very difficult to ask questions that cross boundaries between that discipline and some other discipline.
And who's on first? What is a true collaboration?
My feeling is that we make nothing in isolation. Nothing that I make belongs 100% to me. In every instance of making, something has assisted. Something beyond myself has assisted.
And if university professors choose to collaborate, will their departments support it at all? Will it become part of the criteria for the tenure ladder?
Typical example, a physics department wants you to publish your papers in well-recognized physics journals. If I write a paper in complexity, it's probably not going to be accepted in a well-recognized physics journal. So in the end, I get into real difficulty for things like advancing my career, getting promoted, getting tenure, all these kinds of things.
Because a person seeking tenure is going to be afraid. That is, it will be necessary to do some really promising work. And I fear it would be very easy for a tenure committee to deny tenure on the basis of this dabbling in this unproven area.
That's sort of the reason I push on this idea of having a patron, somebody that'll stand up for you, even though you're doing things that don't fit the discipline.
Absolutely, it meant that, I'm allowed to do limited fork. No one ever questioned it. Can you imagine? Just one day I changed my, I'm now teaching limited fork. No one ever stopped me. No one questioned it. This permission to self-validate the idea, I think, came from the MacArthur.
You get that, and a couple of things follow. First of all, the university begins to take you seriously. And second of all, you get $500,000 over 5 years to spend as a way, as you want.
So please join me, if you will, in overcoming an attachment to believing that you have done anything. Whatever it is a group effort. You would not even exist if only one person had participated. I assure you, there is absolutely nothing that is yours and yours only. So get over that. Share.
Our goal is to blur all the boundaries or the borders where what I end up with isn't dance, it's not photography, it's not sculpture, i.e. we all kind of meddle in each other's disciplines so that our stamp on the final project kind of disappears into the piece itself.